Hello, fifth grade. It's time once again for Choices Unlimited. So today is lesson 6. This is our last lesson of Choices Unlimited for this year. I've been so excited to share this information with you, and I hope you've been enjoying the time that you've spent watching the videos that we prepared and doing your in-class activities. Today, we're going to put our thinking caps on and we're going to go all the way back to lesson 1, and we're going to do a review and wrap up to make sure we remember some of the very important things that we've talked about during Choices Unlimited. So, the bottom line for the whole Choices Unlimited program is that we want to give you, the students, the tools you need to make wise choices. When you're faced with decisions, well, decisions about almost anything, but especially about alcohol and tobacco and other drugs, we want to make sure that you have the information you need to make the best possible choices for those things. So, if we go all the way back to week 1, we talked about drug facts and we went over the drug fact sheet. And our bottom line for that day was knowledge is power. Okay? The more knowledge we can gain about a decision we're going to make or a topic, the better off we are when it comes to making decisions. And we can think about some of the things that we talked about on that first day, like what is a drug? Well, a drug is any substance other than food that can affect the way our mind and body works. And drug abuse is using a drug in a way that it was not designed to be used, or using an illegal drug. Now, one of the other things we talked about that day was a stimulant, right? And a stimulant is a drug that speeds the body up, that speeds everything up. Methamphetamines would fall into that category of a stimulant. Caffeine falls into that category as a stimulant. Nicotine, that's found in tobacco, falls into that category as a stimulant. Now, on the opposite side, there's what we call a depressant. And a depressant is a drug that slows everything down. And the best example we have of that, of a depressant, is alcohol. Alcohol is a drug that causes the body to slow down and causes the brain function to be affected and slow down. So, for the next week, we talked about self-esteem and decision making. And our bottom line for that day was that how we feel about ourselves has an effect on the decisions that we make. So, first of all, we talked about our self-esteem. You remember Jose the balloon, and the things during his day that put more air in his balloon or took air out of his balloon, knowing that when Jose and us have that right amount of air in our balloon, when we feel right about ourselves, then we're going to make decisions that are the most healthy and the most positive. And so, knowing that even on a day that we're down, we can do things for ourselves to help lift ourselves up. And one of the most important things we could do, or one of the best things we could do to help ourselves feel better, is when we help others feel better. When we serve other people, when we pay people a compliment, when we do things that'll build them up, that has that effect of building us up as well. The other thing we talked about on that lesson was assertiveness. And we know that assertiveness means that we are standing up for our rights and our beliefs while respecting the rights and beliefs of another person. So we make a decision about how we feel or what we believe in or what we will or won't do. And to be assertive is to be confident in those things and to make those decisions and be confident and live those out. And yet at the same time, not trying to push our values or beliefs or our decisions onto someone else. We respect their right to make their own decisions. The next week, we talked about pressure, and we described pressure as something in our life that pushes on us, kind of like the wind or a wave, water would push on us, and it's something that pushes on us to get us to think or feel or act a certain way. And pressure can be positive or negative. Something can pressure us in a direction that pressures us to do our very best and to make the best choices and the best decisions that we possibly can for our health and for our family and for our life. As a matter of fact, the Choices Unlimited program is designed to give you information and to help spur you to make the best decisions you can. Pressure can also be negative. Pressure can also try to send us in a way that makes decisions that aren't healthy, and would not be productive or good for our lives. So the bottom line of that day about pressure was that we're standing up to pressure, and we're still, like assertiveness, we're respecting the rights of other people and not trying to put negative pressure on others. Some of the kinds of pressure that we talked about were family pressure and personal pressure. We talked about media pressure, and we talked about peer pressure, which can be one of the hardest things to stand up to, because our peers are the people that are around us. They're our friends, and their opinion matters to us. And I have a graphic that I'd like to show you about that peer pressure. And this is like, I call this like the bullseye of influence, I guess you could call it. And if you look at the outside of the bullseye, is people we don't even know. And then as we get to know people better, they get closer to the very center of that bullseye, which is where we are, me. And the closer people get to me, the more I value their opinion and the more what they think matters to me. And those people have the ability to put a lot of pressure and have a lot of influence in my life. So I have to be really careful about the people I allow into that inner circle, into that place that's closest to me, where their ability to apply pressure to me is the highest. And so we want to be really careful that we're letting people into that inner circle that are people that have our best, have our benefit in mind, people that want to influence us in positive ways, people that have our backs and are willing to help us out and be there for us. Those are the best kind of friends that we could have, the best people we could have in that inner circle that is closest to us. Because the other thing that I'd like to show you is what we call our choices house. Okay, the house of choices. And if you'll notice at the very bottom on that house of choices is friends, because those friendships have so much to do with everything else we do. They build on each other. So we have friends, those people in the inner circle, and they have influence on us. And the way they think and the way they feel and those kind of things can make an impact on the decisions, the choices that we make. And then those choices have consequences. And we know that in our decision-making lesson, we talked about that choices, those consequences can be positive or negative. So those good friends, those people in our inner circle, if they influence us in a positive way and they spur us to do better and be better, then we're going to make more positive choices and we're going to have a lot more positive consequences or outcomes of our decision. That's how important those relationships are in our lives. So the next week, we talked about media pressure and how the media, which is television, radio, magazine, newspaper, internet, anything that communicates to a large number of people at a time, we learned how the media can put pressure on us to think and feel a certain way about a product or service. And then ultimately the goal of media pressure is to get us to act on that feeling, to get us to make a purchase, or to decide how we feel about a product and then buy it. Okay, so we learned that businesses will try to get us to think and feel a certain way about their products so that we will buy. And tobacco companies do that, and alcohol companies do that. Lots of other companies do that. They try to influence us to buy their product. And sometimes they use very subtle ways to influence us. Sometimes it's about product placement in movies or famous people using a product or service. Sometimes it's because a company will sponsor a sporting event. For you football fans, we've just been through, if you've been through bowl season, lots of different companies sponsor the different college games so that they will influence people because we hear that name and go, oh, well, they love football. Maybe we should like their product. Those are the kind of things that media influence does in our lives. And our bottom line of that week was that we have to be aware of the messages that we're being bombarded with, that are being shown to us and presented to us in the media. And then we have to be very careful to decide if those things are the truth, if they're accurate, if they're the kind of thing that we do actually want to act on, or if they'll be positive choices in our lives. Okay. Last week, last lesson, we talked about the truth about drugs, and we went through several of the most common drugs that young people would come into contact with. And our bottom line for that day was that we that we need to be very intentional about knowing the facts about different kinds of drugs, about alcohol and tobacco and other drugs, and then acting on that good information and making choices that are positive and healthy in our lives. Because sooner or later we're going to be faced with those decisions. You as young people and me as an adult, we're going to be faced with those decisions. Now, the last thing I'd like to talk to you about today is that um, in all of this, we can always reach out for help. When it comes to making decisions in our lives, there are lots of people in our lives that really care about us and really want what's best for us. And we can reach out to a number of them if we need more information, if we need to go someplace for the truth, if we need help in making a decision, and need help weighing out what our options are and what the consequences of our decisions might be. And I'm sure you kind of know who some of those people are. Our teachers, maybe a pastor, a counselor, a good friend. Okay, those are the kind of people, and especially our parents. Statistics show that young people that talk to their parents about drugs and alcohol are way less likely to end up making negative decisions in the future about those things. And so we want to encourage you. Talk to your parents about the things that you've learned in the Choices Unlimited program, and ask them what they think, and get them to help you and enlist their help in helping you find the truth and knowing how to make the best possible decisions for your life. Thank you so much for all of your time. This concludes our Choices Unlimited program for the 5th grade year. I'll see you at graduation.